You?
Hey, I'm Jordan McKelly.
Me?
Oh
I'm
yeah, that's
Mitch.
you. He's
That,
Mitch.
that's me. I'm me.
Yeah, and we're the Cover Your Balls crew. Welcome. It's Tuesday, December 15th. A lot to cover, but it is 4 o'clock, and our first segment is our top four at four. And today is our top four movies, but not just our top four movies, Mitch. Our top four Christmas movies. So give me your
Yep.
top four Christmas movies.
All right, Jordan. We're going to start at the top today and work down. So I'm giving you number one right off the rip.
Right off the rip.
Right. Right off the rip. And that is going to be Elf at number one. Undefeated movie of all time.
That's terrible.
Number two, Home Alone. The first one.
That's a great pick.
It's classic. It's a classic one. You can't do much better than that. Number three is Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw those. Number one, better than number two and three, obviously. And then number four, the Nutcracker in 3D.
Oh my god. That's one of the worst lists I've ever heard in my life.
Okay.
It's a very bad list. All right.
My favorite movie.
All right.
So,
I'm going to tell everybody my list. Let me tell
okay,
everybody
you tell
my list.
everybody what.
Oh man. At number four, we have Love Actually. It is an incredible Christmas movie. A lot of great characters. Liam Neeson when he was young, before he was doing like 9 Taken movies, Mitch. It's a great movie. At number three, Batman Returns with Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, and Christopher Walken. Great movie. At number two, Home Alone. Either the first one or the second one. They're so good. I would put two in my top four if I had to pick from them. And at number one, Gremlins. My favorite character, Gizmo, is in there. He shoots a bow and arrow. Great movie. Have you ever seen Gremlins?
I have not seen Gremlins.
It is a terribly shot movie, but a great movie. You need to see it.
I mean, have you seen the Nutcracker in 3D?
I have not seen the Nutcracker in 3D, nor do I ever plan, Mitch, to see the Nutcracker in 3D. Ever.
I mean, it was rated as the worst Christmas movie in the history of Rotten Tomatoes. So, I mean, I probably wouldn't want to see it either.
Probably not.
Probably don't want to see that.
No.
Probably not.
Well, a lot to get into from this weekend. We had maybe one of the, what people are saying, it was one of the best Monday Night Football games ever between the Ravens and the Browns. Unfortunately, for us, we are huge Browns fans, and so we had to take the L last night, partially due to Cody Parkey, partially due to our defense being terrible, and because Lamar Jackson, Mitch, was just in the locker room at the worst time possible for the Baltimore Ravens. What did you make at last night's game?
I took a lot away from last night, that we do have our franchise quarterback, and if you don't agree with that, then you can leave the show because we don't want you here and you're not a true Browns fan. So if you don't like Baker Mayfield, I don't like you.
Bye-bye.
Two, our offense is legit. I mean, Kevin Stefanski stuck with his game plan, even down to scores, still running the ball with the best running back in the NFL in Nick Chubb, and the best backup running back maybe ever. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Our offense is legit. Our defense is atrocious. I mean, absolutely atrocious. The Kansas City Chiefs would put 100 points up on this defense. We would have been fine if Lamar Jackson would have just pooped himself a little bit more, because he didn't go to the locker room with cramps. Lamar Jackson shit himself. I don't know why he's out here saying he didn't. I mean, dude, you put a towel over your butt, and we all know that walk. Like, I mean, it's obvious. Everybody knows what that walk is. Everyone's done that walk. And if you haven't, you're lying to yourself. So stop lying to yourself. Stop kidding yourself.
He shit his pants.
He shit his pants. Dead ass. I mean, and he was in there for so long because he had to get new pants, probably new compression shorts. He probably had to shower because it was probably all over him. So that's why he was in there for so long. It really comes down to the defense. Our game plan was terrible. We made no second half adjustments. I mean, hell, right away, Ravens come back in the second half and go right down the field. I mean, apparently Joe Woods doesn't know what he's doing. No quarterback spy to even help out. The zero blitz on 4th and 5 when Lamar Jackson comes back in, you blitz up the middle, force him outside, and then he finds Marquise Hollywood Brown, who had a horrible game just dropping balls left and right. Our offense is good. Our defense needs work, and I think that's what will get addressed in the offseason. But that wasn't a make or break game for the Browns. They control their own destiny still. They're still the 5 seed in the AFC. We won't win the AFC North now, and that hurts, but it was a long shot anyways. But I was impressed with what I saw from our offense. I have all the confidence in the world in our offense now. Our defense, though, concerns me. What did you think?
Our defense was atrocious. But during the game, I wasn't even complaining about it, to be completely honest, because I was so starstruck that the Browns kept fighting back after getting down by multiple scores, and I was so caught up in just the beauty of having a team that, like, you could feel it. And I texted you last night. I said, this is about to erupt. Like, I can just feel it. And it did. But, like, after thinking about the game a lot more in what I watched, like, it's really alarming that we gave up that many points to a team that really does not have a number one wide receiver. Their best wide receiver is Hollywood Brown, right? Well, Hollywood Brown last night dropped about every pass that was thrown to him. Every pass. Hollywood Brown was terrible. He needed to give his name back.
No, he's not that good anyway. So let's just pump the brakes there. I mean, he's not. Everyone that thinks he's a really good wide receiver.
He's all right. The problem is, if you're 5'9", you better have some intangible or something.
Last night dropped about every.
Oh, that was a lot of echo. Yeah, you have to, when you're 5'9", you have to have some intangible or something else that makes you that makes up for your lack of physicality, your lack of size. And if you're not catching the ball, you're pretty much useless out there, because he's not a good blocker either. So it was really alarming to think that the Ravens got all of their points on broken down plays. All of their points on broken down plays. Other than that pick six Baker threw, which was basically a pick six. He got tackled at the 1 or the 2. It was a pick six. That interception didn't even bother me. He was due for one. He hadn't thrown one in 170-something attempts.
And 4 or 5 straight games, yeah.
That didn't bother me. What was so impressive to me is that after he threw that interception, he was 12 for 15 with 148 quarterback rating, 2 touchdowns passing and 1 rushing. So after he was making mistakes, he was able to ride that, get up in its face, and just blow. I mean, he looked unbelievable. He looked like a franchise quarterback last night. I cannot believe how just dominant he looked and how confident he looked. And that's where that one interception comes into play, is because he thought he could just whiz it right by that guy, because he wasn't sure if he was blitzing, because he was showing that he was going to blitz, and then he dropped back, and I think he just was a little overconfident. But when he dialed that back, he looked great. Like you said, it's not a make or break game for us.
I also think that he didn't think a defensive end was going to get out there that fast. And after the game, though, I don't think a defensive end is going to get out there that fast. And he made a great play on the ball too. It's not like it was just, one-handed, tipped it to himself and caught it and ran it back. After the game, Kevin Stefanski blamed himself for that play call. And Jordan, you and I were both very critical of how we managed the clock to end the first half, in which allowed Baltimore to get that touchdown, to go up at halftime, and they come out making a 2-score lead to start the second half. Kevin Stefanski took blame for that, took blame for the call where Baker threw the interception. He's still making some rookie head coaching mistakes, but man, I'm so happy he's my head coach.
I know.
He's going to make mistakes along the way, but that's okay. And he admits them too. He doesn't try to blame them or put it on anybody else. And then last night he said there's no moral victories, and it's on in New York. And we'll see what they do this Sunday. It's a must-win game now. These next 3 games are must-wins for the Cleveland Browns if we want to get in the playoffs and stay at number 5.
Yeah, and the next 2 specifically are in the same stadium, in MetLife Stadium. The Jets and the Giants, have the same stadium, so they're going to be going back. There were talks of them possibly staying in Cleveland during that process, but they ultimately decided that was stupid, because it's really not that bad of a flight. So
true, that's really not.
No, and then they have the Steelers. So what other games over the weekend shocked you? Were there any that stood out to you as wow, that was a big game?
We can start with in Miami with the Dolphins taking a lead, Pat Mahomes having 4 turnovers, and the Chiefs still win convincingly, kind of, I guess you'd say. They let the Dolphins get back into it, but Pat Mahomes had his worst game of the year. A lot of people think he played himself out of the MVP conversation, and they still were up 20 points at one point. Jordan, I said it all year, and we won't go into our power rankings just yet, but the Chiefs are toying with people because they're bored. I think the Chiefs are just bored. They know they're playing with one arm behind their back, and they know that their one arm that isn't tied is powerful enough to beat everybody, but when it needs to happen, they'll bring both out and fight you. And I think the Chiefs are the team to beat. But a game that didn't shock, but it shocked a lot of people. I told you on Thursday.
What'd you tell me?
The Saints were in trouble in Philly.
Yeah, you did.
And they were in trouble, and Taysom Hill looked bad, and they lost. That game shocked a lot of people. It didn't shock me.
But you can't lose that game if you're like, I don't care if Taysom Hill's at quarterback or not. If you play for the New Orleans Saints, you cannot lose that football game to a Philadelphia team that coming into the game was 3-8-1. They were 3-8-1. 3-8-1. That's unbelievable. They're a terrible football team. Terrible football team that have been riddled with injuries with no really star talent at all. You cannot lose that game. I don't care who's playing quarterback. I don't know who I was talking to earlier today, but I was talking to somebody and I was telling them about Jameis Winston. They should have started him weeks ago. It never should have got to this point that Taysom Hill is starting for a third game in a row. Jameis Winston could have got all these wins. The only reason he was throwing all those picks last year was because of Bruce Arians and his wacky, let's go for a touchdown every play offense. Andrew Luck threw a ton of interceptions in Bruce Arians' scheme. So it's frustrating because I like the Saints and I really don't like the Eagles. I really don't like any team in the NFC East, other than maybe Washington. I can ride with Washington. Which
I can ride with Washington.
They're rolling right now. Giants,
yes, they are.
Big loss. Redskins, huge win, 6-7. Now they still have a remaining schedule that's pretty tough. Who do you think wins that division?
I'm riding with Washington right now, Jordan. They're hot. Their defense is playing out of this world. They have the defensive rookie of the year in Chase Young. The only thing that could hurt them right now, but I don't think it's going to, is the fact that Dwayne Haskins is going to be their quarterback after Alex Smith got hurt Sunday. But he still came in. He was a game manager and led them to the victory still. But, man, their defense is so tough. I don't see how they don't win that division. It's not going to be the Cowboys. It's obviously not the Eagles. And I think the Browns beating the Giants this week will be enough for Washington to get a game up on them.
Yeah, I completely agree. If the Cowboys could have got a win, I think it was 3 weeks ago. I forget who they were playing. They should have won. They would be right in the thick of things, but they're 2 games out now with another tough game. Mm-hmm. So I think the Redskins are going to get in. They're going to be a really tough out. A really tough out. At the beginning of the year, I didn't realize how good their defensive line was when we played them. And, I was complaining to you big time at the beginning of the year, big time. And you told me that they were a lot better than I thought they were. And after week 14, that is one of the best defensive lines in football. And, if you can win in the trenches in December and January, you're going to win a playoff game or two. That's what happens. That was a huge game. And Jalen Hurts, man, it is a mess in Philadelphia. What are they going to do with Carson Wentz after this season? And do you think Jalen Hurts is going to finish the season as quarterback? Is that where we're heading?
Buried injury, I think Jalen Hurts has to start the rest of this year. Jalen Hurts gave the Eagles a better chance to win strictly because he didn't turn the ball over like Carson Wentz does every time. Carson Wentz is a turnover machine, and that's why the Eagles aren't leading this division by more games from wins. I mean, the Eagles could have, 2-3 more wins if Carson Wentz doesn't turn the ball over 90 times a game, but he does. And they're lucky they're in such a bad division, but here comes Washington now who's clicking on all cylinders. Their defense is healthy, they're back, and their offense is starting to figure it out a little bit, but Jalen Hurts will finish the rest of the year, but it might be too little too late for the Eagles.
Well, we're going to find out really soon. Really soon. I didn't think I was going to be excited for absolutely any NFC East games later in the season just because of how bad the teams have been early in the season. But to be honest with you, it's really interesting, and it's as interesting as any divisional run right now. And I'm actually really excited to see where all the teams in the NFC East finish. I mean, if you're playing good football, I want to watch you. I think the reason I didn't want to watch them earlier, Mitch, is they weren't playing good football. I mean, it was really hard to watch. Just terrible football. But a lot of those teams up there are playing good football now. So it's getting exciting. I think a lot of teams are figuring stuff out, with a shortened training camp, no, OTAs and everything. So,
Right.
yeah, a lot to happen in the last couple of weeks. I don't know if a lot of the NFL tie-breaking procedures, but I pulled them up because I wasn't aware of some of them either. Now, it went away. Let me see if I have it. Nope. It's gone. We'll go back to it later. But
Okay.
yeah, we'll go back to it later. Let's roll into our power rankings. Our power rankings are definitely a little different than last week. Mitch, go ahead.
Power rankings, like I said, Chiefs at 1. The big bad Pittsburgh Steelers falling off again. And Jordan, it just allows me to move them further down in the rankings, although they were already moved further down and can't really lead the top 10 if I keep them at 10. So that's where they went, all the way down to 10 again. They're not a good football team. They can't run the ball. They can't. They're asking Big Ben, who's coming off elbow surgery, to throw it 50+ times a game. Their defense is diminished with injuries. The Steelers are all of a sudden not looking like the threat that we thought they were. But either way, I have the Chiefs at 1. The Packers are my number 2. I believe I put I don't have it right here in front of me. Hold on one second. But I do need to make a change, Jordan, because I told you, I sent them yesterday, and I had the Browns at 4. After last night, I have to drop the Browns a little bit. But here we go. Chiefs at 1, Packers 2, Bills 3. Those are the best 3 teams right now in football, I think. Josh Allen's playing very well again, but Aaron Rodgers, I believe, took over the MVP conversation this week when the Packers won in Detroit and clinched the NFC North. I had the Browns at 4. I'm probably going to slip them down to about 6 and move the Rams ahead of them. I think the Rams are a really good football team. I think they're going to win the NFC West, and I think that's one team you don't want to play. And that's a team I think can really come out of the NFC. So I'll put the Browns down to 6. Now, that means the Saints at 5. You could flip-flop them, but Drew Brees is coming back. I don't think he'll start this week, but a healthy Drew Brees with that Saints team, they're going to be dangerous still. And that's why I have the Saints at 5. Titans 7, Colts 8. Those can flip-flop. I mean, the Titans have the head-to-head tiebreaker, even though they've split this year. That's why they're the head in the AFC South. And then I have the Seahawks at 9, and actually the Buccaneers at 10. I did kick the Steelers out because the Steelers suck.
How the mighty have fallen. Man, you had them at like 2 a couple weeks ago, and now they're not even in the top 10 anymore.
Well,
you don't think the Steelers are a top 10 team, Mitch? You don't think they have 2 losses? They have 2 losses.
They almost lost to the JV squad for the Ravens 3 weeks ago. We watched the ugliest football game we ever watched together. I mean,
yes.
What did you say?
Yes. It was definitely one of the worst games that I've watched.
And then they were embarrassed by Buffalo. They played really bad. I mean, Buffalo low-key should be a little bit upset they didn't have a lead for longer in that game because the Steelers just played bad. I'm dropping them out. They're not entertaining right now. Their defense is diminished, like I said. If they're going to ask Big Ben to throw the ball 50 times, they have no shot. They're running the ball, I think it's 2.7 yards per carry, which is one of the lowest in the NFL. They're not a top 10 team.
All right. If you don't think having Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger in still just the rest of the team is still really disciplined. They still have really good players on both sides of the ball. It's not like
I'm not saying they don't have good players.
They'll figure it out. All right.
They better figure it out soon.
Oh, they'll figure it out.
Well, so won't get that. Listen, I'll call my shot right now. The Browns are beating them week 17. So I mean that's a third loss for them. The Colts could be a 4th loss, and hey, I mean the Bengals don't sleep on Brandon Allen.
Oh, whatever you say. At number 10, I have the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota is much better than we think. They had a kicker Sunday who can make field goals and make extra points. They left 4 points on the board. That game is totally different against Tampa Bay. Tom Brady only had 23 passes Sunday, so he didn't throw the ball a ton. they want you to think that they have an identity now. They're trying to run the football. I still don't think they have an identity. That's why they're at 10. At number 9, the Browns. Last week I had them at 4, but that defense looked horrendous. I have them at 9. At number 8, I have the Baltimore Ravens. Man, Lamar Jackson's good. At number 7, I have the Tennessee Titans, even though the Browns beat them head-to-head. I just trust the Titans more than I trust the Browns. At number 6, I have the Saints. They have some things to figure out. Taysom Hill is not the answer. They should have went with Jameis Winston and him eating W's as their starting quarterback. At number 5, I have the Rams. At number 4, I have the Steelers. I still trust in Big Ben and Mike Tomlin. Number 3, the Buffalo Bills. No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Mm-hmm. At number 2, I have Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, who may have just stolen the MVP from Patrick Mahomes this past weekend, even though I don't believe so, because he has like 800 less passing yards. That's a lot. And at number 1, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Are they bored? What are they exactly? I don't know. All I know is they're not losing, and how can they leave the number 1 spot ever? I feel like we're just watching Clemson in Alabama right now with just holding the best team in the league. It's been almost, over 30 games, 30-something games where they've been the definitive best team in the league in my eyes. Mm-hmm. That's a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Longest stretch Andy Reid's ever had of this, this good, this level of football. He's never had this type of run. So it's pretty impressive. Very impressive. So
we still have the same top 3.
Yeah, we still have the same top 3.
All right, good. That's all that matters.
I think that the Chiefs, the Packers, and the Bills are on a separate level, all the way up. All 3 of those teams can play really good defense. All 3 of them have quarterbacks who have cannons for an arm, and who all 3 you could make a case for MVP. I'm starting to be a believer of Josh Allen. A little bit by a little bit by a little bit. And so, you were right about Josh Allen. It looks like it. So we'll see what's going to happen. They're a dangerous team. It's going to be interesting. Very interesting in the next couple of weeks. And there's a lot to get into about that. But before we jump to our other segment, did you see Juju jumping? Like, he does these TikToks in the middle of the field. What the hell is this guy doing?
And Jordan, that's why the Steelers got to drop out of my top 10. They're more focused on making TikToks than they are winning football games, because Chase Claypool now has made more TikToks this year than he has receptions. That doesn't equate to football wins, okay? So Chase Claypool and Juju Smith-Schuster need to get off TikTok if they think they're this really good football team and prove it on the field. And Deontay Johnson, by the way, let me just tell you, this has nothing to do with TikTok and dancing. Deontay Johnson should be nowhere near a football field. That man should feel ashamed that he even has 2 hands, because he doesn't use them to catch a football. He's terrible.
He's really bad.
He's terrible. You might as well just, oh my God, he's so bad. That you can't have a guy out there on your team like that and then expect me to put you high in the top 10. If you're putting that kind of guy out there to catch your footballs, come on. He looks worse than Greg Little.
Yeah, Ben Roethlisberger I feel like he has no faith in his wide receivers right now, because they are dropping key passes all over the place. They're sure as hell not helping him out at all.
No.
Eric
Ebron's not helping him out. Nobody's helping him out.
And he's throwing good passes. They're not even bad passes.
Right. Claypool is more worried about making TikToks. Juju Smith-Schuster likes to dance on the other team's logos. Do what you want.
Does that bother you? Does that bother you? That he dances on logos? Honestly, does that really bother you? I'm really genuinely, I want to know, does that bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
I'm just, obviously it bothered the Bills. You heard what Josh Allen said.
Why would that bother you? Why would, you know what I mean? That's something, hey, you see that over there? He danced on our logo. Man, that was crazy. I didn't like it either. What are we, 5 years old? Oh, you took my building block. I'm gonna steal your family. No, chill out, man. Chill out.
Hey, listen,
okay,
if these guys need
dancing on anybody's logo, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. We just need to calm down.
these guys should need more motivation. But hey, more credit to the Bills that they needed that kind of motivation. I mean, that just I don't know. All I know is I can guarantee you one thing: they won't be dancing on the Browns logo because the Browns don't have a logo on midfield.
Boom. I see what you did there. I see what you did.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's get into that second segment. Let's go ahead and switch it up. College football. Some craziness happened this weekend, and if you're an Ohio State fan, it was just some craziness that you love to see, because not only did you get to see some help for Ohio State from the rest of the country, but you got to see Dan Mullen suffer. And I love when people complain and address every other issue in their life and never realize that the issue is them. What a vindicating weekend for us, Mitch. What a vindicating weekend. What stood out from the weekend from you?
I think there's only one thing that stood out, and you and I both know what it is. It's the fact that if you didn't know, you can't throw opposing players' shoes on the field after you make a tackle.
Don't do it.
Did you know that?
Don't do it.
Well, you know now. Dan Mullen. Now we'll worry about him later. We'll worry about him later. Let's just talk about this game. You are a 20-plus point favorite at home in the Swamp, where you can have fans.
Let's address it. 23. Do you see the shirt? Do you see it? 23-point favorite. 23. Keep going, Mitch. I'm your hype man. Go.
Not 21, not 22, but 23 points. At home in the Swamp, where you have all your fans. So you have a true home field advantage. And you let a freshman quarterback come in there and just go to school on you. But wait, Jordan, Heisman frontrunner Kyle oh, wait, he had a bad game because he's overrated. He turned the ball over like you have been saying all year. You have been preaching it for episodes and episodes and weeks upon weeks. The Florida Gators chomped themselves, bit their own ass, and they aren't going to the college football playoff anymore. They can win the SEC championship if they want. They won't. But they're not going anywhere because they are an undisciplined football team. They're an overrated football team from the SEC, which often has overrated teams in it, like we see every year. Committee loves them. That's okay. That's why you let LSU, who's going to be the first defending national champion to have a losing record since what, 1960-something? A long time ago. We weren't around. It was awesome. It was great to see. And to know they lost because their players have no discipline. You want to throw a shoe, and then the opposing team hits a
57-yarder. Cade York hit a 57-yard field goal. 57 yards.
Yeah. You want to know who has big balls? Cade York has big balls. So he drills that in the fog, by the way. Did you see that fog? That was not easy to see that. But
Mitch, have you ever imagine throwing a newspaper 57 yards exactly at your neighbor's doorstep, only with your foot? That's what he did. That's how. Imagine that. I'm just putting it in practical. Like, our listeners need to know what 57 feet is. 57 feet is one lawn over front door. You know what I mean?
Wait, do you think Marco Wilson was trying to do what you just said though? But instead of kicking the newspaper, he was just going to throw the shoe on to the front porch?
Yes.
Do you think that's what he was thinking?
Yes.
Oh, it makes sense then.
Now, did you see that Dan Mullen came out and he basically said that he really shouldn't have got penalized for having his shoe? He was just throwing his shoe back to their side of the field. Like, do you buy that? Do you buy that, oh, he was just throwing the offensive guy's shoe back to him on the others? The guy's shoe is at the bottom of his foot. So he picked up his shoe and threw it 20 feet away from him. How would that be helping him get his shoe? Can you help me with that? If I'm helping you get your car keys, I'm not finding your car keys and then throwing them away from you.
No, I can't buy that because that's just bullshit. And he's just a crybaby. He's a crybaby. And we saw him cry later after those comments too.
He did. He did cry about that. I can't believe his next comments. All you had to do was take advantage of playing a very poor team in LSU, because LSU is a very bad football team. They'd already had 4 or 5 losses on the year. They were 2-5 going into the game. 2-5. They were 23-point favorites. All you had to do was beat them, and you have a chance to get into the playoff. And you couldn't do that. And Dan Mullins has the balls, has the audacity to come out and say, well, it looks like maybe it would have been better if we would have just played less games. No, dude, it would have been better if you would have just won the games you were supposed to win. Stop blaming other people for your problems. The problem is you. Accountability, son.
And guess what, Dan? Just beat Texas A&M the first time because you couldn't do that. And then you still had an outside shot, but you couldn't beat LSU. So Dan Mullen and all these crybaby – I'm not going to be mean today. I'm not going to be that mean. All the crybaby Indiana fans should go party together because Indiana's upset that Ohio State gets to go to the Big Ten championship. Well, beat us next time. It's not that hard. Beat us. If you want something, win your games and get there yourself. Stop relying on other people. It's as simple as that. Dan Mullen, Indiana, cry.
He's a bum. But, hey, we're going to figure it all out. This next Sunday is Selection Sunday, Mitch. We have huge. Oh, no, we're still good. Okay, I thought something ended. Sorry about that. We have huge games this weekend, particularly the Oklahoma game. Doing some previews. What do you expect to happen in all these championships this Saturday?
I could sit here and say craziness, but to be honest, I feel like if there's going to be one normal thing to happen in 2020, the better football teams are going to win this weekend. And I don't expect that big of a mix-up. Now, obviously, there's going to be something to deal with in the ACC championship between Notre Dame and Clemson and who wins that and what happens if Clemson wins and where do they rank the teams. But as far as absurdity, I think Bama rolls. I think Ohio State rolls. I think Iowa State rolls because I think Oklahoma is an overrated football team. And yes, I know I'm going to get slack for that in the chat right now, but I don't care. That's what I think is going to happen. I think the big question mark is what happens in the ACC championship. I think right now you have two teams penciled in, and you could possibly have all four penciled in, or you're going to have three penciled in, and it depends on the outcome of the ACC championship game. Do you think it's going to be crazy this weekend, or do you expect the better teams to prevail and win?
I mean, I don't expect it to happen. I feel like everything you just said will most likely happen, but everything in 2020 has been wild. The Browns are good again. Nothing makes sense. Up is down. Down is up. Who the hell knows what's really going to happen? This year has been wild in every manner. So, no, I don't expect it to happen. But I think if I had to put my money on picks, I would have picked everything and chosen everything you just said. So I'm hoping for an upset. I always hope for an upset, even to my detriment sometimes. Even if it was going to hurt Ohio State's chances, I love watching good football. Like, I'm still not mad about the Browns-Ravens game from last night because I was just so proud to have cheered for a team that played good football. So it's like I can't even complain.
So, and Jordan, the last rankings come out tonight on ESPN before the final rankings are released on Sunday after the championship games. So what do you expect and what do you want to happen? And let's just go straight ACC championship. What do you think is going to happen when Notre Dame and Clemson play each other fully healthy this time on a neutral field? Notre Dame won that first matchup 47-40 in double overtime. No Trevor Lawrence, though. It was in South Bend. They had fans. So there was a home field advantage. What do you think will happen? And then what do you want to happen?
I think Clemson will win. What do I want to happen? I want both teams to lose. I can't stand Clemson, and I can't stand Notre Dame. If both of those teams could lose, Mitch, that would be the most ideal version of this for sure. What do I think will happen? I think Clemson's going to win. And so I think it's a lose-lose for me. I don't know how you see it.
I would agree it's a lose-lose for you and I both because I'd like to see both teams lose, but I do think Clemson wins. I mean, they lost by 7 on the road without their star quarterback. Number 1 pick in the NFL draft, Trevor Lawrence. I think Clemson wins, then it all becomes what happens with the seeding because they're both 2 and 3 right now. Notre Dame is 2, Clemson is 3. Do they just flip-flop and then play each other again for a third time? Does the loser fall down to 4? And if Ohio State wins, they jump to 3? I mean, what's going to happen here? And then what happens if Notre Dame wins? Clemson, you can't justify putting Clemson in with 2 losses and no championship game, right?
No.
So does Notre Dame then having 2 wins over a top 3 opponent jump Alabama and go to number 1?
I think it should.
There's a lot of moves. I agree that it should. I really do, because I think some of Alabama's wins are inflated. I don't think – listen, I will take all the heat for this all day, but I think the SEC has teams that are ranked way too high. And then I think Clemson now is going to be hurt because we saw their only ranked win against Miami. It means nothing. They just got blown out by North Carolina.
So let me ask you a question then. Who do you think's better if they play, Alabama or Notre Dame? Would you put Notre Dame at 1 because they have better wins, or would the right decision to do pick the better team? Right? Isn't that what we should do?
Right, exactly. I think Alabama is far and away the best team in the country right now.
Okay.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Oh, okay.
I just think that when you look at how they rank teams over their wins, Clemson had 1 ranked win, and Miami is not a good football team, right? Did you agree with that? I mean, they just got blown out at home by North Carolina. And so listen, Georgia, I think, is extremely overrated. They're ranked way too high, a team Alabama has beat. So that's another reason. But I think Alabama is the best team, but as we see, the committee rewards your wins, is what it appears. So I think that if Notre Dame wins, you'll see Notre Dame go to number 1, because now you can't justify Alabama beating Florida after they just lost to LSU, can you?
No, absolutely not.
Exactly. So if Notre Dame wins, I expect Notre Dame to be number 1. And then I think you would have Bama 2, and you'd have Ohio State, and then whoever the 4th team is, which we don't know who that'll be.
Which will, if Iowa State wins, it's going to be Iowa State.
Yep. I was going to say it's going to be Iowa State. It could be Cincinnati. We don't know, but those would probably be the next 2 teams in, would be my guess.
Well, how about Texas A&M? I think it'd be Texas A&M before it'd be Cincinnati.
So would they take a 1-loss Texas A&M non-conference champion over a conference champion? And keep in mind, if Cincinnati wins this week, it'll be a ranked win, though, because Tulsa is ranked in the top 25 now. So
it won't matter.
Would that carry any weight for the team? I don't think it'll matter either. I'm just
A&M has been 5. No, it has been ranked. The committee told you what they thought about Texas A&M like 6 weeks ago when they lost, and they continued to stay where they were. Like, they've been ranked 5th in the country for how long? Or no, they were ranked even better than that at one point before Ohio State came in, I think. And then Ohio State came in and bumped them back. I already think I know what the committee's already told us what they think of Texas A&M. If Clemson loses, I think people will be a lot more calm about the situation, because I don't think anybody's going to cares about the 14 that gets in. In terms of will it be Iowa State or Texas A&M? I don't think there's going to be as much controversy as if Ohio State didn't get in. You know what I mean? So I don't think. Yeah. I think the controversy, because people know that there's only 4 teams that can really contend for it. So anybody that's going to play outside of the top 4, we don't really care about. At least I don't. So it'll be interesting.
Oh, I care about Coastal Carolina. They got cool colors.
Wouldn't that be cool to put them in?
The Chanticleers, dude. I mean, come on, that's a badass name. The Chanticleers.
If given the opportunity, would you put them in over the Buckeyes? If you weren't an Ohio State fan, would you do it?
Oh, I wasn't an Ohio State fan. I mean, I don't know. That's tough. I mean, I'm an Ohio State fan. What do you want me to say?
I'm an Ohio State fan, and I might do it. That'd be awesome. I mean, I'd go to the game.
Cool uniform.
Go tailgate.
Yeah, I'd go to the game.
I'd go to the game for sure. Let's do it.
Here we go. All right, we'll do a live show from wherever they play.
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right, deal. Cool. We're going. You guys heard us. We're going.
Pack it up. So, to close this college football segment out, do you think it's fair that Ohio State can play 5 games and still have a chance to get at the national title? Isn't there some of those SEC schools and ACC schools have some reason to what they've been saying? Like, doesn't it kind of make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but they can't be mad at Ohio State. Why are you going to get mad at Ohio State for something they had no control over? Get mad at Kevin Warren.
Oh, they have control over it.
Ohio State, I think, had control of getting the season coming to coming back.
Well, yes,
That's
what I'm saying.
I think that's the only thing they had control over.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop the fact that Kevin Warren is a dumbass and didn't know what he was doing. And as a rookie commissioner, canceling the Big Ten season. I mean, if he doesn't do that, we're not having this conversation. He panicked. He wanted to be the first one to say, I canceled it for the health and safety of the kids. Well, Kevin, you screwed up. And you're lucky right now that Ohio State is as good as they are and that they have a chance to really prove to everybody that they deserve to be in there with a win on Saturday over Northwestern. I can see why schools are upset, but if you're Florida, if you're Texas A&M, if you're Georgia, if you're North Carolina, and even Clemson, you know how you avoid this kind of trap, Jordan? Win your damn football games. Just win your damn football games. Yep. Just stop. Don't lose. I don't know anybody that plays to lose, but obviously these guys take care of your business. That's all I can say. Dan Mullen, don't lose to LSU. It's as simple as that. Don't lose to Texas A&M, and you're fine. You don't have to complain. But now you're looking for everything to complain because you couldn't do a good job of getting your team ready against a really bad team this past week. You couldn't get your team to travel to Kyle Field in Texas. So, I mean, you have no one else to blame but yourselves. Don't lose, and you don't have this problem. Ohio State hasn't lost yet. Do they have that problem?
No, it appears not. It appears not.
Hey, Indiana has that problem, but did Indiana lose?
But Ohio State's only had an opportunity to lose 50% of the time compared to the other schools. I mean, they've only played – there's some schools that have played 11 games. Ohio State's only played 5 games.
I agree, but guess what? Florida, if they only played 5 games, would still have a loss. Because they lost to A&M.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I know what you're saying, and I'm just saying.
It's just the reality of it. The reality is they've played twice as many games as Ohio State. It's not opinion. It's fact. It's what's happened, and it's not Ohio State's fault. But guess who else's fault? It's not. It's not schools in the ACC. It's not schools in the SEC. Like, it's not their fault, so they shouldn't get penalized for Kevin Warren. I think it's a little unfair for sure. The only thing that makes it okay with me that Ohio State's 4, Mitch, is because I truly believe that they're one of the best 4 teams. If Ohio State was not one of the best 4 teams, I wouldn't want them to go. I don't want to live in a world where people get opportunities they don't deserve. I don't want Ohio State to get an opportunity they don't deserve, but they deserve this opportunity. Make no mistake about it. They're going to manhandle Northwestern. Make no mistake. They are one of the best 4 teams, so I'm okay with it. And these other teams that are bitching about it, you're not one of the best 4 teams, so stop complaining. Stop complaining. Live in reality. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. We'll see how this plays out. Mitch, it's time for the afternoon headlines. Deal them to us.
All right, let's get these afternoon headlines going. Jordan, earlier this week, the Cleveland Indians announced they are dropping their team name after the 2021 season for the first time in what will then be 106 years. They will no longer be named the Cleveland Indians. The Cleveland Tribe is not an option, their owner Paul Dolan said. So, Jordan, are you shocked the Indians are changing their name? But the announcement came, a lot of people had questioned they will be the Cleveland Indians this upcoming season.
Oh, man, I'm not shocked at all. I think it sucks. I think it sucks for sure because I truly don't believe the intent behind the name is to insult an entire group of people. You know what I mean? I don't think the Indians, the name is insulting, and I think it's very soft to change it. But if you feel like if people can't sleep at night because we have a baseball team in Cleveland that lives off a lake that catches on fire sometimes to play baseball with wooden sticks, then sure, we'll change the name. Am I surprised? No. Is it soft? Sure. Do I at least respect that he's going to roll this out over a year time frame and not just change it willy-nilly? Yes, I respect that. But we're still going to have a C on our hats and on our jerseys. It's going to be something very probably minimalistic and simple, and we're going to love it, and we're going to buy it, and we're not ever going to remember this again. So I don't know how you feel about it.
they're my team. I'm going to root for them no matter what their team name is. They could be the Cleveland Steamers for all I care, and I'll buy gear and I'll root for them all I know.
That would be hot. If they were the Cleveland Steamers, that would be hot. Oh man, I'd buy up that gear.
So then that leads me to a question for you. What is your leading name for the new Cleveland baseball team come 2022? Do you have any suggestions? Because I have 3 that really fit the narrative of our team right now.
I don't know. What do you got?
I got the Cleveland Bargain Hunters, the Cleveland Cost Cutters, and just the Cleveland Cost Cutters and the Cleveland Bargain Hunters. Kind of like a version of American Pickers because we're just cheap.
I like it.
So yeah, thank you. Does this lead to other teams and other sports changing their name? The Kansas City Chiefs, the Atlanta Braves, Chicago Blackhawks, Florida State Seminoles.
Some of those organizations already came out and said, no way, Jose. I think it was the Chicago Blackhawks owner, and it was one of the other earlier teams that you mentioned. A couple of them already came out and said they're not going to. Oh, I think it was the Chiefs as well. So I think teams will change it. It doesn't bother me. It's just kind of weird. We live in a weird time where like certain things are getting outlawed. Like this is the wild, wild west with Will Smith. You know what I mean? It's like really weird. Like words you used to be able to say or like expressions you used to be able to use. You use them one time. Someone puts it into a video. You go viral because you said so. Like we live in a really weird world. So just, I don't know. Keep going. I'm sorry.
I agree. Well, no, we'll move on, though. Jordan, we touched on it earlier, just really quickly, again, for anyone that joined the show late. Jalen Hurts got his first W in the NFL in his first career start. Will Jalen Hurts be the starting quarterback for the next 3 weeks for the Eagles? And will he lead them to the playoffs?
He will not lead them to the playoffs, and he will start for the rest of the season. I don't like him at quarterback at all. I like Jalen Hurts I like his story. I followed it. I'm actually a fan, but he does not work, and he won't work in the NFL, let alone this Philly situation. And this Philly situation is a mess. It's super messy.
I agree. Moving on, Jordan, we'll go back to college football. Lovie Smith, former Chicago Bears head coach and now former Illinois Fighting Illini head coach, was fired after 5 seasons. Right move, wrong move for Illinois, and now who are they going to go after that's better than Lovie Smith?
Exactly. Who is out there better than Lovie Smith? No one. How are you getting fired in a pandemic? Like, football, that just shows you how ruthless football is. They're going to pay Gus Malzahn from Auburn $21 million in a buyout just so they can be better at football. In the middle of a pandemic, Auburn shows the entire country that it's America. In football's first. And, wow, that's weird.
Well, I know Illinois could go after Gus Malzahn now since you touched on that. Fired. He won got to the national championship in 2013 and still owed $21 million. There's a lot of people now who think that Auburn might be cutting some athletic teams to cover that cost. That's not right, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that.
I did not hear that. There's no way they could go through that publicly. That they would get destroyed for that. That'd be a terrible look. Yep,
I agree. If you can't afford to do that, then you don't fire him in the first place. So once again, who are they going to get?
I have no idea.
Are they going to go after Pat Sumlin, who was just fired after a 70-7 ass kicking against Arizona State and Herm Edwards this past Friday night? Because he just got fired too. So right now we're seeing a lot of coaches get fired. But
his last 2 jobs, he got fired at Texas A&M just before that.
Yep. Well, I guess we'll see who the new coaches are and what will happen here. Moving to the NBA now. Giannis Antetokounmpo today signed a 5-year max extension and will stay in Milwaukee. That is a 5-year extension worth $228 million. A player opt-out after the 4th year, Jordan. Are you shocked he's staying in MKE?
I actually am shocked that he stayed in Milwaukee. He has to know that he's never going to win there, right? Like, it has to be for the money and just this. He must really love the town and love the people. That's all I can think of because he has to know that he's not going to win. He's not dumb. Like, he has to know he's not going to win in Milwaukee, so he must really love his lifestyle there. And if you like your lifestyle and you can have a good balance with your professional life and your free time, like, hey, I'm okay with it. I might sign a max deal there too. So I'm okay with it.
It makes me a little jealous knowing that you have a superstar that big that wants to stay in a place. I mean, I love LeBron. We'll always love LeBron, but sometimes it just makes you realize, like, damn, you could have done that and stayed here. But like you said, the kicker is Giannis must be okay knowing he might not ever win anything. And that's why LeBron has left both times after he got his job done the second time, though.
The Cavs would have never assembled the team they had assembled around LeBron unless he left the first time.
I completely agree.
You know what I mean? Sometimes it was important to leave. And that's Giannis is not going to win in Milwaukee. He has no shot.
The only shot he has, we will touch on in the third segment, but I have one more headline for you, Jordan, and that is we watched the Monday Night Football game last night, and the Ravens, who took the lead late on a touchdown, went for two, and we saw former Ohio State running back J.K. Dobbins absolutely that's not even the right word. I mean, murder, perhaps. Andrew Sandejo, one of our favorite players who, by the way, if you look at the chat, Jake Pilata, no, we will never ask him to be on the show because he's trash. But afterwards, it looked like he was concussed. And today, Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com reported that Andrew Sandejo, not shockingly, is in concussion protocol. J.K. Dobbins then quoted the tweet and said, "Boy better bring his big boy britches next time because I'm coming strong every run." The tweet was later deleted, and he later apologized for that tweet. Jordan, was that tweet too far from J.K. Dobbins?
It was hilarious. It was hilarious because he he steamrolled a guy who is the laughingstock of. He is literally the last bad thing Cleveland has. Cleveland has turned their entire franchise around, except there's one player keeping them completely back, and it's Sandejo, and he got plowed by JK. I'm not. It's a bad look for JK, but it's hilarious. I like JK more because he said that. He's honest.
I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, it'd be different if he was wrong, but he's not wrong. I mean, he tweeted what he thought. Some people are just a little too soft about what they think about other people. But hey, he did apologize, but he wasn't wrong. Just Andrew Sandejo, don't get concussed next time. It's not that hard. Yeah. And those are today's afternoon headlines.
Thanks, Mitch. Those are some good ones. So, segment 3, anything goes. 1 week until the NBA season begins. Mitch, how excited are you for NBA basketball right now?
Oh, Jordan, the Cavs look like the team to beat after starting out 2-0 in the preseason. I am so excited. You're laughing at me. What? Do you not agree?
They're so bad. They're such a bad team. No. They were celebrating with splashing bottles of water after their guy hit a buzzer beater in a preseason game. That's the level of mentality the Cleveland Cavaliers have right now. That's no better than my 8th grade basketball team, okay? They're a bad basketball team. The Lakers' third team could beat them.
I mean, yes, you're probably right, especially if we talk about the Lakers' new superstar possibly. So do you want to get into that? Apparently the Lakers have found their point guard, and he was on their team the entire time, Jordan.
Yeah, he's only 20. Talon, T-A-L-E-N. I said Talon. Horton Tucker. He even has a hyphen in his name. That's how baller this guy is. Talon Horton Tucker. Had 33 points in a preseason game, and this guy is smooth, Mitch.
Oh, yeah.
When I was watching the game, I was like, who is this guy? And I Googled, I was like, there's nothing on this guy. Like, I don't understand how you could be on the Lakers roster and us not know about you, but I had no idea. Did you know he existed?
I didn't know he existed. He had one pretty big game in the bubble against the Houston Rockets where he came off the bench. I think he had 8 points in the first half or maybe the third quarter, and it was a big boost off the bench for the Lakers. But I didn't know he was capable of, 1, scoring 33 points, and 2, putting the clamps on Kawhi Leonard. Did you see that put some strong defense and then stripping the ball from him, going coast to coast.
That's a problem. He's a problem.
He's a problem.
He's
and people
gonna be
didn't
a
even know
problem.
about him. He's not even their starter.
It's nice to have depth. This is the deepest team LeBron's ever had. LeBron's never really had a deep team at all. I mean, they've had to expend all their resources to get all the teams that he had, so-called stack teams, like down in Miami, where that team wasn't really that good. And some of the Cleveland teams that me and you would agree weren't that great, because, I mean, when you're paying people like Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, and LeBron, it's hard to stack other people around them. But they've managed to really work out the money in LA. That's why they're so deep. And they've got a couple veterans on their team that have had very solid careers, but they're not liabilities. Like, you can put them in for 6-minute stretches, and you might get them for 6 minutes at how they were for their prime. But maybe you only get that in a 6-minute stretch because that's all they have. That's okay, because that's all they need.
So they're not like Kendrick Perkins when he played for the Cavs?
No, not like, you know what was so upsetting about when Kendrick Perkins played for the Cavs is I loved Kendrick Perkins so much when he played for other teams. And so, like, when the Cavs got Shaq at the end of his career, like, we always get these guys at the end of their careers when they're garbage. It's unfortunate. Truly unfortunate.
Not JaVale McGee and Thon Maker, though, bro. I mean,
know.
hey, they're about to lead the Cavs back to the promised land. Ooh,
No, sir.
I'm excited to see it. What? Thon Maker?
No, sir.
You didn't even know the Cavs had Thon Maker until I just said that, did you?
No, sir. No,
All
sir.
right, Jordan. Well, you know, there's one person, or there's a lot of people that aren't excited for the NBA season to start, and that would be Houston Rockets fans. If I'm guessing, I'm assuming they are not happy because, one, they just traded their second best player, Russell Westbrook, for a man who has not played in 2 years, in John Wall. And numero uno, their best player would rather go to a strip club and drop thousands of dollars than show up for practice, which, in my opinion, I mean, got to do what you got to do. So, hey, you have bad days sometimes. It's your money anyways. I don't care. But, Jordan, James Harden has passed 6 consecutive COVID tests, has returned to practice, but has made it evident he still wants out of Houston. Before we dive into some potential trade packages and scenarios for him, what do you think about the whole situation? Do you think he will start the season, which kicks off next week, as a Houston Rocket? And how long do you think he'll be a Houston Rocket?
I think they'll trade him before the season, Mitch, but I do think that he will play for the Rockets. I think he loves the game of basketball much more than other people thinks he does. I don't think he wants to be away from the game. I just don't think he's in a really good headspace. Clearly he wasn't if he was doing all these other things other than his priorities. And I think he's going to get things back on track. The fact that he talked to Silas on the phone and they got some things hashed out was promising for Houston, and he's going to be coming up and playing soon. So I'm not surprised that he came back, but he will be gone before the end of the year. Do you think that he makes it to the end of the year, Mitch?
No, absolutely not. I think it's a matter of time of them finding the right packages and finding what they want in return to put on the court. So fans will still want to come to that game. But, Jordan, I don't think it'll matter what they put on that court because once they lose James Harden, even this team right now in Houston, unless John Wall returns to his old self and then Boogie Cousins is what he was in Sacramento, This team will not sniff the playoffs. That team will not sniff the playoffs. And so I think once he is traded, it doesn't matter. You're looking to build for the future. But it's all about what you can get in return. And we have a couple packages we're going to talk about, plus 2 other landing spots. And shout out to Shane Kelly, listener of the show, good friend of the show, kicks my ass at Madden every day. But he sent me, a recommendation yesterday, an idea, 2 potential landing spots and packages in return. So, Jordan, we'll start they're both the Eastern Conference. I'm sorry. So we'll start in Boston. James Harden goes to Boston for Jalen Brown, Marcus Smart, a 2021 first-round pick, and a 2024 top 5 protected first-round pick. The Celtics only get James Harden. Yes or no?
Whew, I'm going to say no. I think Boston has all the tools they need to win a championship. I just think they need the evolution of the players they have. I mean, they have a really young team. I think you allow this team to continue to grow. I think they will grow. I think they have a great coach in Brad Stevens. And remember, these players started with Brad Stevens, so they all have a really good relationship, and they really want to get back on track and find themselves in the finals again. And I really expect Boston to be the best team in the East. I expect them to be better than the Heat this year. So I think they stay put. I think Danny Ainge has put a really solid team together, and honest to God, I think this is the best team and best collection of talent they've had since the Big Three.
I agree with that, and especially with them adding Tristan Thompson. I think they have what they want over there, and they know what they're doing. So that brings me up to scenario number 2. The Miami Heat for James Harden. The Heat trade Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Kendrick Nunn, Andre Iguodala, Kelly Olynyk, and a 2025 top 3 protected first-round pick. Jordan, you're already given the reaction I gave when I saw this. Do the Heat make that trade?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't do that for Tyler Hero straight up. I think Tyler Hero has major star potential. I don't mind James Harden, but I just don't think you can win a championship with James Harden. And so I'm not willing to give up a whole bunch of assets for some guy who is really not responsible enough to not go to strip clubs and try to get back on the court. Like, he's more worried about his nightlife than he is worried about his job. Like, there is no deal in my mind for James Harden, but even if I didn't feel that way about James Harden, I still wouldn't make that trade. It'd be an awful trade.
You would be trading him there for a guy that goes out at 2:30 for a guy that in Jimmy Butler usually gets the facility around 3 a.m. So you're talking about polar opposite players. I don't like that trade at all. I think the Heat would be fools, and I just don't like it because I just bought a Tyler Hero Miami Heat jersey, and I really don't want to have to sell that or anything. So I'm kind of upset about that. But Jordan, two other teams that have been rumored or less than the Brooklyn Nets, which we agree he's not going to Brooklyn. They're not trading Kyrie or Kevin Durant. So I have 2 other scenarios for you. Do you think it's possible that James Harden could end up in Toronto?
James Harden in Toronto? You know what? They have a strong enough infrastructure, and I love their culture. Possibly. Maybe it's just James Harden has really been enabled and has really had the opportunity to make all of his choices and pick everything he wants in Houston. Like, he was his own boss in Houston. And I think maybe if he could learn to play well with others, that the Raptors maybe have the best culture in basketball. I mean, they have probably the least talented starting 5, but they continue to play tough teams to 7 games. I like that one, Mitch. I like that one a lot.
I agree. As long as they could keep Kyle Lowry, Van Vliet, and Siakam, that would be a no-brainer for me. But I have a feeling they couldn't keep all 3. So, Jordan, that brings me to the last team. And if you realize these are all in the East, I don't think the Houston Rockets trade James Harden to a team in the West. I think they don't want to face him in the playoffs if possible, if they ever get there. But there was a move made today in the NBA, and we touched on it earlier. Giannis signed that max extension. Could the Bucks go all in and get James Harden to Milwaukee?
I could see it. I could see them going all in. I could 100% see them pulling the trigger. I don't know if those 3 would work together between Middleton, James Harden, and Giannis, but I mean, it's worth a try. I mean, I don't know who else Milwaukee could get to put them over the top. What do you think? I mean, is there anybody else Milwaukee could even there? I mean, there's nobody else, right?
To me, there is nobody else. I thought if Giannis wanted to win a championship without it being in Milwaukee, I thought it was all but clear he was going to Miami because I think he would have fit perfectly with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. I think this is what the Bucks would have to do to win, and I think James Harden and Giannis together would work. I think they'd have to trade Chris Middleton to get James Harden. I don't think it happens. I really don't. I think the Bucks are going to build around Giannis however they can without trading what they already have, but that would probably be the trade that intrigues me the most because then you're talking about the Brooklyn Nets, who I think is going to be a top 2 team in the East, with Kyrie and KD versus James Harden and Giannis, that would be a great 7-game series. I would love to watch that because you have two guys that'll guard each other, although Kyrie and James Harden don't play defense, but then Giannis and KD against each other. I love that, but I don't think that gets done. I think Harden gets traded, but I don't think it's until before the deadline. I think it's right up until the deadline. He'll be a Houston Rocket, and where he goes, I don't know, but it will not be in the West.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can click early. Does James Harden, does he get comfortable enough that he's like, okay, I'll stay? Like, who knows? Maybe he has a change of heart and maybe things click with John Wall. It's possible. Weirder things have happened. We've seen some weird things. So, well, I guess we're just going to have to keep an eye on it and see how that plays out.
I agree. And then to wrap up segment 3, Jordan, we'll just let everybody know that next Tuesday is the first day of the NBA season, and we're going to have our NBA special. Is that correct?
That is correct. We're gonna do an entire NBA episode.
So that means we need people to tweet at us, put it in the chat, hit us up, any way they can possible to give us their questions for this upcoming NBA season, their predictions, and we'll read some absurd takes that are going to happen. I know that we already have some people that have some absurd takes, but I'm excited for next week. I'm happy the NBA is back, but I just want to give a little foreshadowing to next Tuesday's episode.
Absolutely. And Mitch, do you know what time it is?
Oh, I know what time
Who
it is.
has bigger balls?
Who has bigger balls? It's our favorite segment of this show. Mitch, this week, who has bigger balls? Is it Big Mouth Dan Mullen or is it Marco Wilson, a.k.a. the shoe thrower? Now, Dan Mullen criticized Ohio State for not playing as many games as the Gators. He said this after their loss Saturday versus the LSU Tigers, where they were 23-point favorites to beat the Tigers. Now, I know we've played 10 games, so I guess probably the best thing to do would have been to play less games because you seem to get rewarded this year for not playing this year in college football. He said this, by the way, Mitch, in the middle of a pandemic. It's not like Ohio State neglected. They were like, oh, we're not going to play football for 5 weeks. It wasn't like that, Mitch. It was, oh, hey, we're shutting down the economy. There's a pandemic out there, you fool. Oh, my gosh. All right. I'm sorry. I got to get back. Is it Dan Mullen or is it Dan Mullen's athlete, Marco Wilson? Now, let me paint all of this picture for you guys. Florida stops LSU on third down to force a punt with less than 2 minutes remaining in the game to give the offense a chance to drive down the field and beat Florida. They stop him on third down, and what happens? One of Florida's defensive backs, Marco Wilson, picks up a shoe, chucks it 30 yards, 15-yard penalty. LSU gets the ball. They drive, 57-yard field goal. That 15-yard penalty, Mitch, lost LSU the game. Who's the bigger fool? Dan Mullen for continually putting his foot in his mouth, or Marco Wilson for kicking Florida out of the college football playoff conversation with one throw?
Well, Jordan, I think the easy answer here would be it's the University of Florida entirely, but since I can't pick that, it will have to be Dan Mullen, and for 2 reasons. One, you look like a baby back bitch if you're going to sit here and complain, and everything's out of your control. And 2, you had the audacity to back up your athlete, Marco Wilson. There is a big thing here, Jordan. You will never see that at Alabama. You'll never see it at Clemson. You'll never see it at Ohio State. 3 teams that are constantly in the top 4 every year. And if you did see that, you know what you wouldn't see? You'd never see that player on the field again at that school. And I can guarantee that, and I could take that to the bank. I could bet my house mortgage on it. Everybody on the show could bet everything on it because it would never happen again. So Dan Mullen has bigger balls for saying what he said and then backing up his player. That's my opinion. I mean, Marco Wilson's got some big balls for chucking a shoe, but Dan Mullen. It's Dan Mullen for me.
Oh, who has bigger balls? Clearly Marco Wilson. Did you see that throw Marco made? Oh, my gosh. Just the animosity like that you could see through his face mask when he threw this shoe. I love it. I love that he lost all of his teammates the game, and I love that he lost all of his friends because believe me, He has no friends on that team anymore. That dude has 0 friends. Definitely Marco Wilson. Worst life decision he could have made.
I mean, you're not wrong about that. He probably has some friends in Ohio. I mean, Ohio State fans were happy to see that. But Jordan, really quick, I mean, he threw that shoe pretty good. Him or Kyle Trask? who you taking?
Who am I taking? Oh, I'm taking Marco Wilson.
I mean, yeah, so am I. That was a hell of a throw. That was a shoe. Imagine a football.
I mean, Kyle Trask proved to be exactly what I said he was. He's a fraud. He's a turnover machine. And what happens when your star player turns the ball over in big moments? Guess what? Not a star player.
And you know who else is a fraud, Jordan?
The Raiders.
The Las Vegas Raiders. We'll see you Thursday.
Deuces.